to Safe Space Talk. I'm Renee. I'm the Inclusive Midwife on IG. And this is my friend. I'm going to allow her to introduce herself. And if you'll just tell us your name and something interesting about you and why you agreed to come see me today.
My name is Dee Corbett. I own my own home improvement business. And I came so I can make others feel comfortable with their sexuality when it comes to being a lesbian.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So we basically are going to go over a couple of questions. I've made some in advance. This is portion of our orgasm gap discussion that Keisha and I have been having, and then a portion of sex and sensuality for educational purposes and for real life explanation. So we basically want this to come across as relatable, understandable, and things that you can listen to and you can actually find comfortable enough to be able to say, this has happened to me, this has happened to me, and this is what I should do about it. So we'll start with the questions that I pre-made. Okay? You feel like you're ready?
Yeah.
So just so you know, this is going to be a long recording, but we're going to have it broken up into bits and pieces. So it'll be bite-sized, but we're going to have our liquor and laughs and all the fun things. So we're going to make this pretty easy because this is going to be an interesting topic. So everybody is going to be comfortable today. So let's go with question number 1. What would you say is your percentage of times that you experience orgasms from your sexual experiences?
I would say about 80 to 85.
80 to 85.
Yeah.
Okay. And so just so that we can go over it again, the orgasm gap says that 95% of straight males experience an orgasm with sexual encounters. 89% of gay males will achieve an orgasm. 88% of bisexual men will. 86% of lesbian women, you. And then 66% of bisexual women, and then 65% of straight women. So that's part of where the big, large divide is. Obviously, heterosexual males achieve an orgasm 95% of the times that they have an experience with someone. So out of 100 times, only 5 of them, they don't leave with a happy ending, which is incredible. And then for straight females, out of 100 experiences, 65 of them, they actually may have had a decent, good time. Well, I'm not going to say that, actually. Technically, you can have a good time and not have an orgasm, but you still kind of get robbed, just a little bit. So you would say 80 to 85%.
Yeah.
Okay. So that actually goes to the second question, which was, do you feel that the percentage associated with yours matches your experience? And we have you down as 86%. So that
Close
seems
enough.
Close enough for government work.
Right.
Okay, so since we know that that kind of does match, what do you feel is your most consistent orgasm type? Is it clitoral, anal? We have G-spot. There's so many different kinds. I think there's 13 different types.
I think mine would be clitoral.
Okay. And then what do you find whenever you're with your sexual partners? What, obviously being lesbian, do you find that your partners experience an orgasm more often than you, or about as often as you, or
I would
less
say
often?
more often. When it comes to dealing with other lesbians, because most of them I deal with are feminine.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, I'm more so on pleasuring them than pleasuring myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I come, great, but I'm more so focused on them getting the orgasm.
Okay, so then
I would say around about 90%.
90%.
Yeah.
So these...
That's not true when it comes to
sit there and look on
my experiences. But, I mean, that's just all on me. Because that's my main thing to do, is make sure my partner get what she needs.
Now, what about the reverse of that?
And
how much of it do you feel like is your partner's responsibility to ensure 100%. That you do?
100%.
Okay, perfect. So you make sure that you do have the standard.
Right.
So you want someone that aims to please as much as you aim to please.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense. That's fair enough. So clitoral is your most consistent. Which is your favorite?
I'm about to go with clitoral for that one too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see here. And then as far as your partners, what would you say is theirs?
It will be a little bit of both, the clitoral and the G-spot.
Okay.
So.
And whenever you say G-spot, what is your go-to as far as assisting them in having a G-spot orgasm?
It depends. It depends on the night. It depends on the toys we use.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all in the mood that night.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you say that, how much planning does it take?
It really doesn't take a lot of planning. Like I said, it's just the mood. Like, it may be a night we've both been drinking. Things may go down. Those nights are a little bit freakier than others. Versus we're both getting off work and things happen.
So, for instance, let's say you're at a dinner party
Mm-hmm.
and you want to slide away.
Mm-hmm.
Then I imagine it's fingers, not toys, because I'm sure you don't walk
Right.
around with the bag.
Right.
Like, hold on, baby.
Right.
Whip this bitch out.
Nah, we don't do the backpack.
Back,
Going to dinner.
backpack. With Dora the Explorer and all of them with your big bag. So, on average, do you find that you use any assistive devices more often than you do just your own natural body?
No. Most of the time it's the natural, but like I said, to spruce things up, that's when we implement the toys and other things.
Oh, Jesus, what other things are there? Because you knew that question was coming. You can't say other things. And I'm sitting here, what things?
That's behind the closed doors.
Okay, I'll leave that part to itself. And there's not enough liquor for that one, I guess. She said, no, lady. No, you're not ready. Oh. Do you find yourself faking orgasms to encourage your partner's perspective of their sexual experience?
I can't really say I've faked the orgasm.
Ever?
I can't really say.
I'm sitting here.
No, I don't.
Okay. Let's see here. Do you feel like they do the opposite to you?
As I've said, I've had it happen in the beginning, but
so the one time was also in the beginning. I'm sorry.
I mean, it was because the mentality. Like when I first started coming out as far as being a lesbian, I was already like presented as the dominant female, but I had that tomboy mentality. So I came in like dealing with a female kind of on a man's perspective. So it's one of those things where I'm like, I feel like, okay, we have sex, everything's said and done. You know, things are clear now. Yeah, we argue, but we just had sex. Like, we broke the bed, so I'm good. But in all reality, it's like, no, that conversation's going to carry over into the morning. Like, we just killed what it was. And for that time, you know, she faked the orgasm, went to sleep. But tomorrow, that question is still going to be there when you wake up, open your eyes.
So do you feel like you are, I'm trying to remember how I worded it before. Do you feel like you're intuitive in knowing whether or not your partner has faked an orgasm?
Yes.
Versus not being able to tell?
Very much so. And like I said, it's just because I'm a female, still at the end of the day. I pay attention to body language. It's just one of those things you can tell. You know, typical things a male may not be, because a male doesn't really, he can say all day that he understands a woman's body, but he really doesn't. But as females, we basically know what a woman wants, like we know their spots. So in that situation, it's one of those things where I'm just like, okay, you know, I know what goes on when you have an orgasm. I know your body language when you have an orgasm. So it's easy for me to separate the faking from the real.
Now, do you find that it's similar across females? Or do you feel like there are women that actually, they do seem different? Because I would imagine that not every female has the same, you know how when you lie, you have a tell?
It all depends on who you're dealing with. And I mean, a lot of people don't really like to break it down like that, but when it comes to like bisexual women and actual like full-blown lesbians, I've had both experiences. For some odd reason, I've attracted like bisexual women most of my time being a lesbian.
Do you feel like that's you being attracted to them or them being attracted to you?
I feel like it's a halfway split.
Okay.
But then when it comes to being with a lesbian, things are like way more freakier because when you're dealing with a bisexual woman, it's kind of hard if you don't know what you're doing. I guess that's how I should say it. Because at the end of the day, it's certain things that you have to do when it comes to a bisexual woman that if you're dealing with a lesbian, it's there already. If you understand what I'm saying.
I do not.
Okay.
So, I'm so sorry.
I mean, with
so
bisexual
sorry.
women, with them being like used to dealing with males.
Okay.
Majority of the time, when it comes to a bisexual woman, they probably only dealt with like a few females.
Okay.
So, it's a little bit more you have to teach, I should say, when it comes to dealing with a bisexual female versus dealing with a lesbian.
What do you feel like you have to teach them?
I'm not gonna say a lot, but certain things. Like I've had a bisexual, like female, and when it comes to, and I don't know if I should say it in that type of way, but when it comes to giving head, it's a bad situation sometimes because in their mind, just from dealing with guys, it's like it's hard for them to like separate it. So you can kind of sense this, but it's one of them things where you have to like lead certain ones. Not saying all of them now, because I've dealt with some bisexual women that must have been watching Pornhub or something. So, yeah, you know, I've dealt with some that pretty much, you know, not to say they were down packed, but
I'm sorry, I have to drink that one.
they were kind of in the right areas, you know, versus a woman that's kind of only been with like one or two females.
So
when
this
it comes
is
to being
so
bisexual.
To make sure I'm clear, you're saying that this is for them going down on you, not you going down on them.
Yeah.
Okay, so carry on.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to me going down on them, of course, it's plain and simple, you know, because I'm an actual lesbian. So it's a difference, and I could tell the difference with dealing with different women I've dealt with, you know, over the years. I could tell the difference from dealing with a bisexual woman and actually dealing with a lesbian. Okay. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of hard to explain, but it's also, like I said, you have some bisexual women that's like, no, I'm used to doing X, Y, and Z. But then you have some that's like, I've never given head before. Can you teach me? Type
to a female. Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's kind of weird, but then I'm like, okay, cool. Like I'm all right. You know, I can teach you.
I can teach you.
Yeah. So.
And then do you feel like that takes away from the sensuality at the moment then? Because it's like, okay, well, we were going to sex, but now we're going to school.
Oh no, not necessarily.
Okay.
I don't.
So that doesn't change that mentality. And then as far as with lesbians, you said that you find yourself more so attracted to bisexual females than you find yourself attracted to straight lesbians.
I'm not going to say I find myself, but it seems like that's what I'm
They find themselves.
Yeah, pretty much.
They tend to find you.
Right. Because, I mean, if it was left up to me, I would have it certain ways, but that's not how life works. You know, certain things are thrown your way. Either you catch it or you let it go.
So then a two-part question. I know you're like, this heifer. and if I'll give you a safe word, pistachio.
Okay.
If you're like, pistachio.
Okay.
Dropped. Okay, so first question. Now my ADHD kicked in. Hold on, let me think about the questions. What was the last thing that you said? Ow, I got myself pierced today. I got a couple of piercings, and I just accidentally pulled one of them. Whoo, whoo. Praise be. Okay. What was it? What would your ideal situation be? And then the second one, I know I had to do with the lesbian versus the bisexual, and I'm trying to remember what it was that I was going to ask. Because I'd already asked about the attraction part. Maybe it'll happen while you're thinking about the first one, but you said that in your ideal situation it would be a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
For you as a lesbian, what would be ideal for you? What would be your ideal living and sexual situation?
That's tough.
And this is not a dated video, so who knows when we record it. What would be your advice to those seeking to achieve orgasms with partners that do not have a high percentage rate? So whether it's a cisgender heterosexual female or even a straight male, but for some reason it's something in their head or something in their bodies that are not syncing, what would be your advice as to how do you work with someone to achieve that?
I would say, like I was saying earlier, as far as like sprucing things up. In this day and time, a lot of people are like so comfortable with everybody like working with how the economy is. It's like they're coming home, then it's cut and dry. You know, it's like, oh yeah, I'm horny. You know, let's just do it this way and go to sleep. But some people still have that high sex drive, and then it gets boring. And it's funny that you say that because I just really had this conversation with a lady last night. And she was actually, you know, she deals with a guy. So she was just basically saying like, oh, you know, it's so boring. Maybe I need a woman. And I'm just like, no, just spruce things up. You know, it's a difference within that. Like, not to say like, you know, if I was really trying to, you know, do anything, I would, yeah, I go with a woman,
Exactly.
you know. But
that is exactly
yeah.
what you need. I agree. So, what time are you available?
No, you know, I'm just like, it's certain things you just have to spruce up because a guy's really not going to be thinking on that, you know. And I hate to say that, and not the down males because, you know, I don't have an issue with, you know, that, but at the same time, their mentality is not like, damn, what can I do to make things better?
Mm-hmm.
What can I do to spruce things up in the bedroom? It comes to a point where she's become bored, he's become frustrated, so it leaves it being nowhere, you know, and it's still cut and dry every day. And honestly, that's why a lot of females are becoming like bisexual. And I mean, a lot of people won't admit that, but that's a real issue now because it's not one of them things where they're like thinking outside the box. Mm-hmm. You know, like, how can I improve me and my mate's sex?
Yeah, the one that you're currently with.
Right. So it's not like they're thinking about that. It's kind of like, oh, well, all right, you know, she don't like it. All right, fuck it, you know, forget it. So, I mean, it sucks, but sometimes you have to think outside the box. And clearly, like I've done, oh, Jesus, a lot of stuff, you know, outside the box.
Okay.
But it was one of them things where I look back on it like, that was pretty cool. Like, I never really would have thought about it, but two heads is better than one. But it was one of them things to where it was a relationship, like I said, it was dealing with a bisexual woman that kind of like let go of guys altogether. And I was like her first girl, but it was one of them things to where I was like telling her, like, just relax. You know, it's okay to have fun. It's okay to call me and say, hey, babe, I'm at work at this, and I'm horny. I'm on the way. As long as you got a door to close and blinds, you know, to let down. But that's things that spruce
things up.
Yeah. I mean, and people don't really think like that. It's like, oh, honey, okay, when you get home, we're going to go in the room and lock the door and we're going to lay on the bed.
We're going to fool myself.
Yeah. You know, we're going to lay on the bed, we're going to cuddle and watch Netflix, and then next thing you know, we may have sex.
Right. Just like this. And meanwhile, you know, you got to poke your butt out to let them know
right.
you're kind of interested.
Right. So, you know, it's just one of those things. But, and it's a simple fix, but a lot of people don't really look at it that way. I mean, not to say it's already been my mentality. Mm-hmm. It hasn't always been my mentality. It took me dealing with certain individuals to be like, okay, if I want this to work, this has to change. Because if not, I'm going to cheat. You know, so it was things to where I might, you know, and not to be funny, I might watch Pornhub or something to spruce things up, you know, to say, okay, well, dang, that look cool. Let me see, okay, well, where can I get that toy at? You know, and it was one of them things where I'm like, hey, you know, babe, you want to try this? And it was like, girl. But then it became like something that we use, like to implement in certain situations. Yeah.
Okay, so that makes sense. So how do you feel? That's actually, I'm glad you brought that up because that's something that Keisha and I were really depressed about when we thought about it. Because whenever we do teach patients, we do teach clients, being midwives, we're not going to get a chance to teach a lot of males whose primary source of education is Pornhub. Or YouTube porn or whatever else there is.
Well,
now I don't want to make it sound like I'm promoting just one.
No,
they're all equal opportunity
like
employment.
Something.
Yes, like I feel like
Look, don't worry about me.
Exactly. Like I feel like that's their primary source of education. Like that's where they're finding out what to do.
Yeah.
And then of course I'm looking at it, I'm sitting here thinking, ain't nobody asked for consent. Where'd that toy come from?
Yeah.
A guy just literally showed up out of the floorboards and she was just fine with it. So like he's thinking, oh, okay, we're over here. My friend is going to be heading over here in a minute. Oh, she's not going to have a problem with it. Yeah. None of the girls on the videos do. And then his friend walks in and she's like, the hell? So these are setting situations where real life things are happening. And it's because they really think that this is what sex is going to be like.
Right.
And in the porns, they always have an orgasm. It is not real. Yeah. But they have to have one. So in their mind, they really think that what this guy is doing did that. She's an actress.
Yeah. And
she's doing her due diligence. She's doing her work.
Right.
So being that that's the number one way of teaching, do you find that that's where you gained most of your experience in wanting to know how to please women and learning how to please women, and in finding that you didn't want to be pleased yourself by males? Something about that was not working for you. Do you feel like porn helped you on that sexual discovery, or is it more of a deterrent?
I'm not going to necessarily say porn helped me. It was kind of a hit and miss thing, if I should say. You know, try one thing, if that don't work, go to another. Try another thing, if that don't work, go to another one. And it became a thing to where I kind of learned what helped and what didn't help. You know, what worked and what didn't work in certain situations. And at the end of the day, you know, sometimes you may do certain things and you may feel, you know, it's working for your pleasure, but it may be making your partner uncomfortable. I did a lot, like I said, I've done a lot of stuff to like spruce things up. And some people may look at it like, that is weird. I could never in a million years. But then to others that's actually got that high sex drive with you and, you know, that same freakiness as you, they're going to take it as, oh yeah, like I want to try that out type thing. So
someone that can kind of meet you where you are.
Right.
So whenever you think about sex and sensuality, what about women is it that makes you find them sexy and sensual, as opposed to you ever finding that amongst males, as if most people would say you would naturally have been supposed to do? Something along the lines, these damn legs again, sorry. Something along the lines made you say, okay, no, really don't find, you know, Jason Momoa attractive, but Lisa Bonet, now that she could get it.
Yeah.
So what made the female body, the female mentality driven to you? Like what drove you?
And it's kind of weird. I would actually say like that touch, like that nurturing side, personality and nurturing. Because at the end of the day, I'm not going to say I'm very emotional, but I've dealt with a lot in life. So it was like that nurturing side is what kind of drew me to it. Because as a male, it's going to be like, oh, what's your problem today? Like, oh, like, you know. But with a female, it's kind of like, you know, sit down. What's wrong? You know, lay on me, talk to me. So it's one of them things where I'm like, okay, I can get used to this, you know. And then it ended up being other things to where it might be, you know, touch up your body, like a certain area you may be rubbing on my head or, you know, rubbing in my hair type thing, then I'm just like, okay, all right. And it's relaxing me as well as making me like I can get used to this type thing. Because a woman is going to pay more attention than a male is. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then also when it comes to pleasing a female, as I said, a woman knows. A woman knows.
Mm-hmm.
On the point, she already knows. So it's not like something I have to teach her. Like, okay, well, this is my spot. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. Because that's something she already knows.
And it's easier for her to figure it out.
Right.
So it's kind of more so by default, because they're more nurturing,
right,
and more intuitive. That's what attracts you,
right,
to females. And then, what do you feel like attracts them to you? Is it? Do you feel like because you're more dominant? Do you feel like that's what is making them more attractive to you, even though you do find yourself to be intuitive and emotional?
And I would say like me being dominant on top of my personality, because that's the first thing a woman sees when she see me, especially like doing the type of work I do. Like, oh, you're good with your hands. Oh my God, like you're a woman, you work on houses. And you know that's
like the entry to a porno.
I'm just saying, like
that's really the beginning of the porno video.
Like, and that's with any woman, like even with the male, like to see somebody actually out there, and that's not like, you know, they want to see somebody getting their hands dirty type thing, you know, taking care of home. So I think that's what really much more attracts me, like makes them more attracted to me, I should say. And I think that's another reason I attract a lot of like bisexual women, because that's what they're looking for in their mate. Like they want to have that security.
Mm-hmm. So they want the security, but they also want the intuition that you would have.
Right.
So it's like they're getting the best of both worlds in their mind. I want someone who can be dominating,
right,
as needed,
right,
but understand me more so along my.
Yeah. And see, when it comes to like a lesbian female, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, I feel like it's more so like looks. Oh, that's a badass, you know. And so it's like that's what they want, instead of versus like looking at the bigger picture. Mm-hmm. Like if I get with this person, am I gonna have that security? Like, am I gonna know if this should go down, they have my back? If you know they should go down, am I gonna be able to be up for them? Type thing.
Okay. Do you feel like you provide that security? So like if you're with someone and something was to go down, you feel like you're prepared to fight and do those things? I will say that as a female, that's one of the things that I've always said. Like, I can't be with no man that's more scared than me. Right. We'll fight break out and you running first. Where the hell did I get you from? Mm-hmm. So I will say that is one of the first things that it's like that strength, because you want that counterbalance. For women that are unsure, which I'm sure they're probably not watching this video, because to be sure their parents are like, if you don't turn this shit off right now.
Right.
But for that person that does sneak away and they're 12 or 13 and they don't know what on earth is going on, what would you say to them? When they're wondering, I don't know why I don't feel like everyone else feels, or why everyone else seems to want this and I don't.
A lot of times I've basically like told the youth that I've spoken with basically to read more into things, because a lot of times a lot of those kids that are having those issues is because of issues that are going on inside the home. It's not even more so about their sexuality. It's because a lot of times they are in a single parent home where it's just the mom, or, you know, the father's locked. I've seen situations to where like the father's locked up, or the mom may be in a situation where she's dealing with a female, or dealing with the guy off and on, what have you. So at that point, you're confusing this 12, 13-year-old teenager. Mm-hmm. So at this point, they're like, I don't know which way I want to go. You know, I might see mom with a guy this day. I might see mom with a girl this day. But it seems like mom is happier when she's with the girl. So I want to see what it's like to be with the girl. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times those are situations that happen. you know, people don't really speak on it a lot, but that's pretty much how those situations come about. Even if it's just a situation to where, like, especially with females that's coming out that way, and, you know, gay guys, they're growing up in households with just their mom. So, of course, with a mom being nurturing as she is, and he's getting that feminine side more anyway. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like he has a male figure to be like, no, son, take them heels off. You know, he's having fun in the heels. He's running around the house doing whatever. So the mom is just, you know, it's funny to her, but she's not thinking of it in a male's perspective. So as a male seeing that, it's going to tick them off. Like, son, take them off. But that's just the life we live in. So a lot of times that's what kids kind of pick up on. And I would say, you know, in those situations, just to help, you know, you would basically read more on the things. You know, if you feel like, okay, I don't want a boyfriend, I want a girlfriend. Or if it's a dude, you know, I don't want a boyfriend. I mean, I don't want a girlfriend, I want a boyfriend. At the end of the day, read up on it. You know, get more information about it. It's different things that you can do that I do know of now that they have in like the different schools, or like after school programs, to where they're actually talking about the lesbian and the gay, you know, everything with it when it comes to our community. So, but it's all in getting those kids involved. A lot of parents aren't going to allow it because
they don't want to bring that into their household.
You know, they don't want to bring it into
I'm encouraging it.
Right. But see, the thing is, they don't realize a lot of that can help. Because at the end of the day, that's why they started a lot of them, because we had a lot of kids like committing suicide behind it, not knowing how to come out to their parent or family or friends, or getting picked on at school because I want to wear a skirt to school while Tim over here wears jeans sagging. You know, not knowing, you basically giving off the same image.
Yeah.
Because you don't really know the background of where sagging came from. And basically in jail, that means like, come get it. Exactly. So a lot of kids don't really know that. It's like, I'm cool. But no, you're really volunteering yourself. So, I mean, it's all in educating yourself on it, and parents really being there for their kids to kind of help them get more education on it. To sit down and say, okay, son, you know, I understand you want to be gay, but do you know what that really means? Okay, daughter, I understand you want to be a lesbian. Do you know what that means? Versus, oh no, not my child. They're not going to be gay. They're not going to be a lesbian. Because that then puts a bad taste in the kid's mouth. And then here come, they're thinking about suicide and running away and, you know, things of that nature that you really don't want to see a kid do.
Exactly.
So. And
you want them to just feel like they're accepted.
Right.
As a lesbian female in today's world, how do you feel like you are received when you go out in general public? Do you feel like, for instance, like I know as a Black female, whenever I enter a professional environment or whenever I enter the store, there are times where I know someone's going to follow me around. Right. Just, I didn't even do anything. Yeah. I just have to breathe and blink, honestly. Right. But because I look how I look, I'm going to get followed. So explaining that to, for instance, explaining to my son, which I'm sure people are going to have a problem with, and that's fine, because everybody gets to parent their child the way they had him, because I pushed the child out. I taught him, don't get on an elevator with a female by herself. Right. You let that elevator go, and you catch it the next go round. I don't care how late you are, and I don't care what you're late to. It can be a meeting with the president. Catch the next elevator. Right. Because what can she accuse you of if you are not on the elevator with her by herself? Right. Not a darn thing. Right. So he could not understand that. But it's one of those things where I had to teach him that as a Black male, you don't get to just do that. Exactly. I don't care what color the female is. Yeah. Just don't set yourself up. When you go out and people set this mindset, some of the biggest things, some of my biggest pet peeves are how they don't want to address the fact that you are either dominant, or if you consider it masculine, or however you decide that you want to be approached, they don't want to actually come up to you and ask, how do you prefer to be referred to.
Mm-hmm.
Second is I don't know all those letters. There's so many doggone letters. First off, how dumb are you?
Mm-hmm.
It's not that many.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you feel like you're received whenever you go out into the world?
It all depends on where I'm at. Strip clubs, I feel like I have an issue with a lot of guys when I go, because it's one of those things to where if I'm going to support the females out there, because I'm going to say at least 65 to 7% of the females that are strippers, they're either in school, they're doing that for a reason, to make money, to pay their way,
and first off,
to go somewhere else.
They're also in shape as hell.
Right.
Because trust me, if you all have seen our midwifery mischief poll videos, bitches are strong. Right. They strong. Right. They can strip.
A lot of them are pretty much like doing that to pay their way to get to the next level. So of course I'm gonna support that. I'm not coming in with the mentality like, oh, you're gonna come over here and dance me, I done paid you all this money. No, you go in there with that mindset like, okay, this is what it is.
That's my
mentality. But see, guys, when they go in, it's more so like, oh, I done got you. I want
that was a whole $20.
Right, and a lot of times it sucks that they look at it that way and not at the bigger picture. When it comes to clubs, I don't really go to clubs, and if I do, it's more so I try to make sure it's with most of my community. So therefore, I'm not running to the issue of this girl might be bisexual and drunk and see me, and then something pops off.
Because what I'm getting is that the men find you as competition.
Right, pretty much.
Okay.
Then like to just regular stores, I found myself laughing at certain things, because you do have those people that's kind of like, clenching the pocketbook, different things,
I love when they clench their purse. I'm like, you realize now I have to punch you to steal it, right? Before I was just going to grab it, since you thought I was wanting your purse so bad. I was just going to grab it and run. But since you're clutching onto it, now I have to smack you to be able to grab it.
And then you might have, I had a situation this morning, I stopped to get breakfast. And it was a kid, full of life. Hey, da, 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 da. Her mom just like, yeah, she's always like that. Her and her brother, everywhere they go, they don't meet a stranger. And they're cool. And then she just busts out and said, hey, what's your name? And then I told her, she's like, are you a girl or a boy? Her mom's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I'm just like, no, like, you're fine. It's kind of cute, funny type thing, because I know that's not what she taught her, but it's just a kid being a kid. So in those situations, I'm pretty much like laid back. And I'm just like, nah, you're good. It's okay. And I'm like, I'm a girl, Because in those situations is when kids are really trying to find themselves. So it's not like...
And they're truly...
Right. Like
authentically just asking.
Right. And like there's a lot of parents don't look at it in that way. It's like, oh my God, I am so embarrassed. I'm like, no, for what? Like, she was just asking a question like, you're good. Like, I don't take it any type of way. Like, I'm not offended in no type of way by any means. So like I said, it all depends on where you're at to how I get looked at.
Okay. Where do you feel like you're most received at? Like, you know what? I'm not really as worried going here as I am going.
You know what? The weird thing to say, and I hate to say this, guys, is the church.
I was just going to say.
That is the weird thing to say, because I'm that... and in churches, you have a lot of people that's in our community that's not really out. Like, you have certain ones that be like, okay, okay. But it's within the community. But you have church folk that's like, no, you ain't going to tell me brother so-and-so and sister so-and-so. When like, sister so-and-so and brother so-and-so was with me last night. But I'm that realist that's going to come in there and be like, yeah, what's up? All right, praise the Lord. Y'all, what's up? But... I guess it's just that realness in it to where I don't feel like I'm hiding anything. What I have going on in my lifestyle has nothing to do with me going to church. I'm going to get the word. I'm not going to worry about who's looking at who or doing whatever, but I feel like I'm more accepted there. And I think that's just because of how I am. And everybody is pretty much, oh, there go D, hype when I come, but I'm just like, it's kind of weird, but it's a good thing as well, because you do have some lesbians and gay guys that like go to church and then it's like, I ain't know that. You know, it's on that type of time. You have some churches like that, but honestly, in my life right now, I feel like that's why I'm more so accepted at. And I don't know if it's because of how I am. I'm more so upfront with things.
Yeah.
Like I'm not putting on my dress to go to church. Like they tried that at one of the churches I was going to. I was like, yeah, no, and it was my family church, so I was like, nah, I'm good. Went to another one. It was like, come as you are, and I'm like, okay. You want me here, you want me to receive the word. Like, this is how I'm coming. This is me all day. Every day. Slacks, Stacy's, button up. That's what you're getting. I don't know what else you want. And then it was one of them things where, like, she's about business, you know. Versus, you know, anybody else that comes in. But no sin is greater than the other. So I feel like that's why I'm more accepted at.
Okay.
To answer your question. It's, like I said, it's weird, but...
It is. But before you answered it, that's what my gut said. Yeah. My gut said, I promise you her answer is going to be church.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is about it, but that's where... And I always laugh because I always say the same thing about myself, because I have what I call a church home, but I don't attend regularly. And but whenever I go, they look at me like I was just there last Sunday. They're like, come on, man.
Right.
And I'm sitting here like, girl, you know, you ain't even know I had changed my hair color.
Right.
You ain't seen me in about 7 years.
Right.
And what have you. But they do. They're just, most tend to be just perfectly accepting. So I'm trying to think. I think that's pretty much it. Is there anything that you can think of that you have as far as questions for me or anything at all?
No, not necessarily.
Okay. Well, I cannot thank you enough for everything that we've gotten a chance to talk about today, for the drinks, for the laughs, for all of that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that you guys want to ask. Please don't hesitate. We're going to have everything. I don't know how we're going to figure this out, but Keisha is the master of all of it. And so when she pieces all of this together and has a spot where you guys can ask questions, I am going to have a short interval of time that I'm actually with Dee in live capabilities, but if we have to, we'll Zoom or what have you and answer more questions, and I'll reach out to her and she'll come back to me with answers and we'll get them to you guys. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this segment. And like I said, it's Orgasm Gap versus Sex and Sensuality, but please make sure that you like and subscribe and continue watching our channel. And thank you again, Dee, for being here with me. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to end the recording. And thank you guys again. So I'll see you guys later. Don't forget to check out our reels. Bye. Now, my ADHD kicked in. Hold on. Let me think about the questions. What was the last thing that you said? Ow, I got myself pierced today. I got a couple of piercings. And I just accidentally pulled one of them. Whoo! Whoo! Praise be. Okay. What was it? What